Okay, so we now have the mold primed. It's actually been sitting for a couple of days, so because something came up which I had to attend to. So what I'm going to do is, if you notice, we've got some real deep leading edge nacelles here. I'm not going to try and put cloth in most of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up some resin. Then I'm going to put some microspheres in it to make it lighter. And then we'll cover that with cloth. So let's get cracking. So this resin I use from Aero Marine in California is a 2-to-1 ratio resin. So what I'm going to do is mix it up in this can here. I can put it on there. Get rid of some of it. I've got my lolly stick cut down at the end. So I've poured a bit into the can, which is not mixed. I'm now going to just mix this resin up here. And then I'll transfer some back into that. Then we'll put it into a bigger cup and mix the microspheres up. But before we do all that, oops, no. So I'm just gonna, I think they call this box mixing or something. So it makes sure that everything gets mixed up real good. Put it back into the can. Get as much of it as we can out. Stick our brush in there. Get all of it out. Now, what I'm going to do is finish mixing with my brush, which mixes much better. That will thoroughly ensure that we have it all mixed. So, now what I'm going to do is just pre-wet the mold. I've got to be careful that I don't hit the sides of the mold with this metal, because that will scrape the PVA off, or the mold release as we call it. And I'm trying to make these a bit lighter than I normally would, because we've got a few changes to the plane, which I'm sure has added probably a pound or so of weight. But it is the third prototype, so these things happen. All right, so I'll just pre-wet the mold. Trying to get it on the edges of this deep cavity here. And I don't have to worry, this all gets cut out later. So I can go with some heavy cloth in there just to stiffen it so that we can pressure release it. If we only use a lightweight cloth, the pressure can actually just blow it away. And therefore, you have a problem. So anyhow, that's that one done. So I'm going to transfer a portion of this into this bigger mixing thing here. And we'll switch back to our lolly stick. And I'm going to spoon in some microspheres. And I'm going to sort of make it probably about the texture of mayonnaise. Or like a, thick salad dressing or whatever you want to call it. That's too thin. So another one of those should do it. You can always add a bit of resin if I've put too much microspheres in. So these microspheres being hollow, I'll just add a tiny amount of resin. A little bit too stiff. All right, is it going to flow? Yeah, it's going to flow. So what I'm going to do is try and sort of flow around, and not to trap air. Spread it out evenly. And the reason I'm doing this is because my experience in the past is that it can be a pain in the ass trying to get air bubbles out right now. It can be a pain in the ass to go into this deep, tight cavity with cloth, even 3/4 ounce cloth. You can end up with some big air cavities, which are not very good for what we want to do. And I don't want to do any post cleanup if possible. So I'm just dipping it in. So in case you can't see it with the camera, that's what it looks like. And now we can put the microspheres away. And now I'll come along with some small sections of 3/4 ounce cloth. So I'll just try and get these in. Nice thing about the 3/4 ounce, it's so flexible or pliable, whatever you want to call it. It works out real good. Whoops. I'm basically pushing it in to the mix there. Okay, I think I need to cut that one. I just get these ends. I mean, if I really, really wanted to go lightweight, then I would take the time and put 3/4 ounce in all these deep cavities. That one's pretty deep there. So there was a bit of an air pocket, which is now coming out. So we'll just get a bit more resin in there if we can. Let it self equalize. So I'm trying to get it in like on a diagonal, which will make life better. And I'm moving along pretty quick with this mold today. Normally I would take some time. So I'll just blob some resin on there so it runs in between anything I may have missed. All right, next one. Actually, I'll just do one side and that way you can see how I do it. So what I'll do now is I'll just switch to some 2 ounce cloth. I'm just going to put it on in little pieces, forming it around. 3/4? No, that's 3/4. I don't try and do it all in one. I prefer to just overlap it because when you try and do it in one, which you probably get away with if you cut some slots in it, it can get away from you and you can end up with a bloody mess. So putting small pieces in, to me, is the way to go. So now I've put some 2 ounce around the entire perimeter. So we've got basically the goop, the filler. We've got 3/4 ounce going around this perimeter here. And then we've got one layer of 2 ounce. So what I do now is I switch to going vertically. And I'll just overlap them. Like that. And I'm going vertical into the corners. Trying to keep any kinks out of it. And then I'm going to switch to a bigger cloth. So what I'm going to do now is I'm switching to these bigger pieces of the 2 ounce. I'm going to come down the side here. Actually, I'm going to put a couple of reliefs in there. So I'm just going to sort of tuck it down the side like that. Start going from the center, working my way up. Yeah, cutting those reliefs in helps it form around all these kinds of bumps and stuff here. So I'm going to, in this case, get a couple of reliefs. Should do it. I'm going to just sort of form it in nice and gentle. Some resin on there. Just working my way in, pinching down the sides now so it kind of lays flattish and forms. There we go, like that. See, if I hadn't have cut those reliefs in, I'd have two big wrinkles here right now. And so far, I don't have any. It's a good thing. Alright, and we'll move around this way. Take another piece. Again, a couple of reliefs. Doesn't matter. Better just to do them and be on the safe side. And then an overlap. And to me, is the overlapping is what gives you lightweight and a lot of strength. Because basically where you overlap, it's like creating a rib. It's like, you know, when auto designers design a car and they put little creases in the back of the hood and stuff like that, or the bonnet, if you're from, I guess, England or Europe. And that gives it rigidity, a lot of strength, but keeps it lightweight. So I use the same principle when doing these parts. Let's see, so we want to go that big. So I'll put 3 in here. Okay, so once I get this corner in, we should be all dandy. And I don't want to push too much on my goop down there because it's kind of sloppy-ish. And it can move around and you can end up creating a bit of a mess for yourself. So just gently form it like that. See how it's all formed? And then I'll just cut a bit of the excess stuff off here. And your cloth could move on you while you're cutting it. Don't worry about that. You can just pat it down in a minute. I don't want to go too close because I like to get a little resin on the top edge. So when it's in the green state, I can simply razor it off. So now I'm just making sure I get resin on this shoulder here, this edge, and that'll allow me to cut it real good. All right, so that's that one. I'm going to do this one, and then we'll get back on the camera for the final cover. All right, so I have the other side done now, and we're going to switch to the what is it, 6 ounce, 5 ounce? Forget what the damn cloth it is. Anyhow, we switch into this heavier cloth. It's actually 6 ounce, just remembered. So I'm just going to start forming this in. I got to make sure I get some heavy cloth on the intake side down there between the lip, so that our valve doesn't blow out. So for now, we'll just go around the perimeter. We'll gently, put this in. Let it start soaking up the resin that I put down before. And that will keep it a little lighter. So what I did is, for this 6 ounce, I keep like a coffee can, those big plastic coffee cans available, and I use them to actually put my cloth scraps in. So this was just junk cloth cut off from, I think, when I did the Decano, or maybe the Eurofied, I'm not sure. But anyhow, it works out great and saves you a bunch in material cost, because this stuff is not cheap. It's pretty damned expensive. So we're just going around this outside one right now with the heavy cloth, 6 ounce. Because it's all relative. It's actually fairly lightweight cloth, but compared to 3/4, it's heavy. Trying not to put too much resin on this one. I want to make sure it's tucked over that goop, so that we don't have an issue with voids. So this is the tough one getting into this corner. So I'm just gently bringing it around and forming as I go in. Let these cut-offs overlap. This is all going to be cut out at the intake section here, which I'm just currently working on. So we can go heavy with the resin. And that makes sure it also gets in any holes or voids or whatever I might have in that deep cavity. And it gets cut off, so don't have to worry about the weight. So that's the outside done. So I need to just overlap there, so we'll put a cut there. And if you notice, I'm coming more and more into the center as I lay the cloth in. That's again because of the air valve. Make sure that overlaps there. And I'll build this up with a bunch of crap till the resin runs out. And like I say, it gets cut out, so I don't really care. Let's see, that's going to go there. I chose to come around this sharp corner on a bit of an angle, as it will form a little better. And then what I will do now is just piece this piece across where I had a bit of a gap. And that, my friends, I believe, is that. I think I just got a little bit of a gap there. But I use my handy dandy flashlight, and these are in my description if you want to get these. I love these lamps. Really bright. Charge up with a USB cable. Okay, so I'm just going to trim around the top. Make sure I got resin so I can trim it when it's green. I'll get this done. And the next time we're filming is we'll be busting it out the mold. Alright, so it's the next day. These feel hard, I'm not sure, but anyhow. So I've removed the masking tape, and that's so I can just come close in and finish trimming these edges to try and get as near perfect a fit as I can. Being careful not to cut into the mold. That's why I put my thumb on it and glide it down. And that's close enough, I guss. Alright, so now is the time to see if we can release it. So remember, I've got the tire valves on. So put it in the camera view. We'll get our compressor line. Okay, so I've got a rubber stopped, what do you call it, nozzle on that, and I'm just going to push it into the tire valve. It's at 50 psi, and let's see. Boom, there you go. That's how you do it, guys. So now, let's see if it fits the plane. So I've had to, these have a little bit of a lip around them. So I have to cut back just a little slot for this top piece to get in. I've not done it on the bottom yet, but anyhow, you'll get the picture. So it just sort of goes over the lip, like that. And then this gets cut out. Then the diverter piece gets put in here later on. And that will be that done. Then obviously we just clean it up with a bit of filler where the seam is, and all will be good there. So that's the intakes done. So what I'm going to do is now just drill them out, clear them all out, and then we can look at putting a diverter in it. So that is pretty much the end of this video. So coming next, we're going to let's see, we're going to look at mounting the wing bolts. I have to come up with a plan for that. And also we'll add the flying stabs on and the crap load of bearings, thrust washers and all kinds of stuff. So we'll get that done in the next video. Thanks for watching.